Whether you want to refer to it as God lying or God changing their mind, what God says is going to happen to Adam in Genesis 2:17 doesn't end up happening.
I want to make the case that God is changing their mind. Now, I want to agree that the spiritual death interpretation of this passage does not really work.
This construction does not refer to a spiritual death.
And furthermore, agree that this is a threat of physical death at a certain point.
This construction in and of itself does not mean you will be condemned to die. It does not mean you will suddenly realize you're going to die.
But of course, we read in Genesis 3 that that did not happen, so what gives? So quick background, we should understand Genesis 1 through 3 in relation to the concepts of temple and garden. Essentially, the universe is God's cosmic temple, and he sets up a garden on earth to be worked on by the priest. You can check out this article and also the work of Dr. John Walton for more on that. But that temple garden context is really important because Dr. Bruce Wells has argued that the Babylonian garden text that we have can really help us understand this story, and particularly this death threat. Essentially, in these texts, the temple could issue a threat of death for touching the sacred object or for doing something, but oftentimes when the sacred object was touched or whatever happened, the temple would change their mind. The temple leader would change their mind, and some other punishment or consequence would follow. Dr. Bruce Wells and others argue that this is what's going on with the death threat. This is a real threat of physical death for touching the sacred object, but God changes his mind in Genesis 3. And thus we see the consequences of their actions follow from what God says there regarding like the curses and being kicked out of the garden. But we also see God being merciful in clothing Adam and Eve in Genesis 3 and not going through with the death threat. And themes of God changing their mind and showing mercy also run through the Hebrew Bible, and I would definitely say is present here in the Genesis text. I would definitely encourage you guys to check out the work of the scholars that I cited in this video. But if you want to see more about how I understand themes of death and mortality in the early chapters of Genesis, you guys can check out this free article on medium.com. You can also go to followsoftheshepherd.org and search death or mortality, and you should be able to find it as well. Make sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments and follow me for more content like this.